Making straight river tiles for my Fallout inspired Warhammer 40,000 board. Hello there and welcome to Good Enough Scenery. In today's video I'm going to be showing you exactly how I make straight river tiles. So not the one with the road crossing there, not the one that's a corner piece there, but one's like the one coming up here, this nice straight one that just goes from one side to the other. It's full of gross sewer water and all sorts of stuff, and I'm going to be showing you exactly how I make them in this video. And as you can see, this is part of a bigger modular board where all of the tiles can match up with any other ones. So we have a modular road, we have a modular river, and we have some all sorts of other little tiles there, and all the different parts of scenery are going to be covered later in this series too. But for now, let's get into how I made the straight river tiles, starting with the cutting. So to begin with, I had pieces of foam which were 30 by 14. That's centimeters, not inches. Now I've got my hot wire cutter here with the wire set at a very specific angle here, which meant that when I pushed it through like this, it created a nice, is it a mitre? I don't know. But it created an angle, so that's a good thing. And, you know, if you do a bad cut when you're, marking out the 30 by 14, you can always cut off the bit that you want. And I advise that you keep the bits you cut off, because a nice angled piece like that is always good to have. Now, if you've seen the rest of the series, you'll understand what's going to happen next with the concrete bit. So what I do is I take my wire brush, and for the angled part, I went down at one angle and then perpendicular on the other part. And that just creates this nice kind of ridged detail, and then I rolled over it with a bit of tin foil, and then as you will have seen on the other ones, I marked 10 centimeters along to create this kind of grid pattern across both pieces, and that's so that it joins up seamlessly with the other tiles. Then I stuck it down, so this is going on a 30 centimeter by 30 centimeter piece of MDF board, and I've got instant nails here. Now what I've done is I'm smothering it on, then I'm pulling it one way, and then I'm pulling it back the other way. That's just so that I know that I've got the instant nails right up to the edge, and just want to make sure that's nice and aligned with the board, because that's going to make the next part easier. Next up was the painting. So first of all, I went with the brown covering absolutely everything, and then just painted the central part black. Next up, just using some lighter grey here. So you can see this has just had the brown on it, but all the colour's just been sucked out of it by the colour of the foam. So then it was grey on top. Whilst it was still wet, I added a couple of drops of black, and I kind of scooped them up and moved them in places so it wasn't too heavy. But then I'm just like scuffing it up just with a brush like this, so that I've got some nice random colours. And there's lighter bits, there's darker bits, and it's all pretty random because is definitely not a uniform colour when it comes to pavements and concrete. From there, I waited for it to be completely dry before going over it with a white dry brush, and you can see this brings out all of the detail from it being rolled with the tin foil, as well as the scraping it with the wire brush, and it ends up looking, I think, like concrete does. So this is quite a simple process. Now this is a really important part to get right, so I'm using some acetate sheet to dam up the ends, because you do not want a resin pour leak, because they are not fun. I have learnt this the hard way. Now the best way I have found to do dams is with acetate sheets and UV resin. Now the UV resin dries completely clear, so it matches up really nicely with the resin that you're going to be pouring in. So I'm putting a little bit on the ends, and then I'm filling up the inside of it with resin, UV resin, which sets off really, really quickly with the UV light, and then continues to set even harder in just natural daylight. Now, once you've poured some resin in, I was like tipping it up to the end there, just so it's going not just at the edges, but right up to the ends. And then I'm doing, just to be absolutely sure, I'm doing the inside edges as well, so that no resin goes underneath. Then it was a case of adding some bits and pieces to the inside of the river tiles. As you can see, I was doing a whole bunch of them at once. So this is some forest floor flock. I mean, it doesn't particularly matter what the flock is. I just chucked some stuff in. So I added some like greeny moss type stuff. I added this forest floor stuff, and just trying to make it look like a dirty old sewery thing. It's not trying to look like a river. It's trying to look like a sewer runoff. Also made some little rocks. These are just offcuts of foam, which I just stuck with a glue gun. Just randomly put different pieces down, so it looks like rocks or whatever had gone in. Then I added some sticks as well. So these are literally just sticks I found on the floor, and I'm breaking these up with my hand and breaking these up with scissors and just chucking them in completely randomly. You notice I'm not sticking these down. The rocks I did because they, if it's supposed to be a rock that's heavy, it would sink. With this stuff, I don't really care. It can float if it wants to. It can, it can sink if it wants to. Doesn't matter. And then I sprinkled in some of this grey stone flock as well, just to act as a further kind of gravelly, stony type thing. And that was that. Then came the resin pour. Now, this resin I think is fantastic. I'll put a link in the description below to it. It's a 50-50 mixture, and this tub could not have been much more full. But with the resin pour, it will come with instructions. Follow the instructions for your resin pour. Don't follow it from anywhere else. Now, best tip with resin pour here is to have, when you pour it in, have your things off of the ground or off of the table or whatever they're on. So I just put a little bit of foam underneath them, and that's so that if they do leak, which these ones didn't, thankfully, if they do leak, you can see it quickly, and also it doesn't kind of just stick and run underneath it. And then in terms of the pouring of the resin, I just chucked it in until it got to a height that I was happy with. I just added a little bit of green to the colour of the water so that it was a bit more gross. But yeah, nothing more complicated than tipping a liquid into a thing. And just in general with resin pours, like, don't do it and then leave the house. I suggest that you do it and keep checking on it every kind of 15 minutes, half an hour, something like that, so that you can see if anything starts to form. And then once that has set, which takes maybe 48 hours, you can pull the dams off. Sometimes they come off really easily. You'll notice here that I added some hot glue to the dams as well, just because I was being extra precautious, because like I said, resin pour leaks are not fun to deal with. So just pull them off and pick off any glue that's on there. And yeah, that is your straight river tile complete. And this is what they look like on the board. So you can see one here that I chucked a girder on. You've got this one coming up next, which, I'm doing that in a future video where it's a road that's collapsed into a little bit. A corner one will be done soon as well. But in terms of the straight ones, that's how you make them. I made a bunch of them for this table, and I think it looks really good. I really like the grossness, and I just think it's something a nice little different element. So there's going to be more and more scatter terrain added to this board as the series goes on. I'm going to be showing you how I made this sewer outlet as well. That's still not quite finished, even though it's in the video. But yeah, I'm generally excited about showing you the rest of it. So if you have enjoyed this, then please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when new videos are coming up. I'll be showing you how to make everything you're seeing on this board if I haven't shown you a video of it already. But yeah, I'll catch you for another video soon.